Okay.
Hello, everybody. This is Captain Sweet of Planetary Guardians News Media. We are here with our ace reporter, Rusty from Winnipeg, doing research surveillance work into the insanity of the planet. What do you have to report so far, sir?
Exactly that, insanity. But it's pretty fun. I don't know. Are you? I enjoy a good dose of madness. We have so much snow right now, eh? I don't know. Have you heard about that?
No.
Oh,
Well, I guess everywhere does, but I mean, we have snow in Vancouver, 4 feet in Nelson and shit. Yeah, but Winnipeg, I
there's snow
can't
in
imagine.
Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been like the thing has been it's been a couple of weeks of it, and it probably is going to be a couple more weeks of it.
Oh, geez.
Or actually months of it. So I'm like, yeah, oh man. I mean, whatever. I'm fine, but I'm definitely wondering why people live in Winnipeg. Yeah, I hear the Magic game is starting up again there.
Yeah, the 16th, I guess, if he gets his timing right. You think you're gonna join in, or?
I couldn't even say right now because it's like if I have nothing better to do, I could do it, I guess. But I really don't want to like even if I heard that you were, getting a group of people, but this whole thing of like random dickhead comes around and starts bombing me, no thanks. And I mean, I'd like the idea that I get there from the beginning so that I could actually have a force that could defend itself.
Yeah.
But that's not, if that's like, it's this thing of what's a game, like, exactly. It's not a game if someone says, here, you're in a boxing match and someone ties one hand behind your back and it's like, all right, are you ready? Like, and the other guy doesn't have to wear gloves and
yeah,
it's like peppering you and you're like, this is utter shit.
well, it mirrors life a little too closely, where you're sitting there with a water balloon and somebody's got a machine gun.
Yeah, no, really, eh? Like, it does seem like and that's the thing. If it like, is there escapism? Is there fantasy? Is there imagination? No, this is just some other incel somewhere else who wants to call himself Quagar and thinks it's like he's like Darth Vader or something. I don't know. Fucking those guys can go fuck themselves. Really. And that's the way I live, right? I don't do that. I don't, if I listen to all the haters, where would I be? You can't let them have any, even like a toenail hold,
Mm.
So yeah, what about you? Are you thinking are you gonna go to the incredible land of Saskatchewan?
Well, at some point, I don't think for the near future, considering supposedly I can't get on planes and supposedly, my vehicle isn't working and supposedly the roads aren't that well. So there's a number of things against it right now that.
Right. That's for sure.
But at some point maybe.
Have you, like, are you sure about the planes? Have you looked into that?
Not that strongly, because I don't have the strong, like right now I'm sort of trying to focus on the manual, like I just have to get certain things sort of finished that, without the manual, the card sets are people don't know what to do them, kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's my main thing right now. And so like this thing, I'm kind of looking at a video manual of looking at the relationships between the cards, kind of. So this is a value card and a combo type. So this kind of structure is supposedly the let's say I'm giving you an interview in a
Right.
sense. So it sort of tells the convo type I'm in, and hopefully looking at goodness.
Right. Right. Well, I
Um,
like the sound of that.
yeah, so I don't know. Have you been able to put backgrounds on your computer, or is that kind of like you have an old
Yeah, my version of Zoom doesn't allow for anything other than JPEGs.
right, right.
So maybe if I find a better version of it or whatever, I can do it. But
Well, I think it also sort of probably goes on your computer, the operating system. Um, yeah.
well, I miss Van, that's for sure.
You
Is there are you having fun still? Are you like
am
I
I
assume by now people are not just like shit eating mad like they normally are. Like I
well,
remember when it first happened, when the cocoa first happened, um, they were like, you can't travel. So then I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be in the city right now, so I'm going to go to Galliano. And then everyone's like, no, you can't travel. And they're screening at the ferry. So, go to the ferry, and all it is like a sandwich board that
yeah,
says, have you had sniffles? Have you had a fever? Have you had, if you are, go home and self isolate.
right.
So I'm like, this is hilarious because like that's really not screening. Like I'm glad that they're full of shit, but it's not screening. So okay. Like I mean, all you do is say no, even if it's happened. But I mean, I don't know. This is about a cold, Do you know one of the most recent things that I heard? They're actually telling the military this is how insanely full of shit this bluff is. Military right now, they can't. They were trying to mandate vaccines for the military in the States, right? So they couldn't really do it. They can't force them to get vaccinated. So they would do this thing of like if you report to them, they'll say, they'll do that screening. Have you had any symptoms? If you say yes, all they do is tell you to go home for 5 days.
That's it.
That's it. Um, someone is screaming like a banshee. So this is the thing. This is the military. So just all I know is if the military doesn't even actually try to treat this, they're not even demanding that they're not trying to treat it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, nothing makes sense now because
Yeah.
the lies are unfolding. So that it's like to me the Omicron, whatever the fuck that is probably it's just a cold. Like I mean the thing, like I mean when we were growing up, did you hear like, okay, we had 500 flu cases in the last 2 days, and like there was never a report on the flu, but the flu was going around and people were sick and people were staying at home, same stuff, but you got the flu, you threw up, and you got over it. Like, to maintain a lie takes so much energy, and because there's so many humans now on the internet with evidence and all the other things like theirs and common sense. I mean, like, how long can you try to drum a lie up to keep things going, right? Like, and there's so many lies. So, like to like all those poor people who've been vaccinated because they had to keep their jobs. You know, like what, 160 sports people have dropped dead. 160, prime their life, top. You
I know, but most likely they're vaccinated. I think.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
why.
I know, but that's what I mean. Then you have like a clotting agent in your body, and then you drop dead.
I know, but
Holy fuck, are you stupid?
I mean, it's not a good thing. I mean, I'm looking for something to show you. I'm working with a Iranian woman who's answered an ad for PG Volunteers, and she's just out of school. And she's just new to the country, and she's helping with programming screens because Nova's pretty up in his game, so he's kind of lost. He's back in there, and the chat stream program, you know, we kind of created the mechanics for it, but we don't have the real entry into it. We don't have all of the screens necessary to sort of get your team together. And so that's what we're working from now. We made the back end kind of thing, and now we're coming front end to the back to sort of figure out, you know, how to make this work. And I just want to show you this.
The weirdest thing about life is how everyone's under the impression they want to move forward, but then they look and they see someone who, according to their theory of going forward, is behind them. And the only compassionate thing, or even just, I don't even know what to call it, but you have to go back for them. And then you go back for them, and then you're stuck with these people who on one level, you know, they just don't know what they're doing. And they kind of have revealed to you that you don't really know what you're doing, because with Winnipeg, so much
what?
Oh, just with Winnipeg that, you know, like I came back basically because I was concerned my parents, you know, they're getting old and all that stuff. You know, I don't want them to, like, this picture of them dying alone, or, you know, being in some, you know, being stuck in some box.
Right.
But that's what I ended up for myself now. And I'm just stuck in some box in the same place. At least at, like, Vancouver, I had done enough. I had been there and I had tried to make shit happen, and it was just, there's too much fuckery.
Sorry, I almost got it.
Like, you know, living in a garage was just like, just a headache.
Oh God, yeah.
Every morning I had to worry, you know, I had to be quiet. And then it was so humid. I was like so close to being sick all the time, because like, it was like sleeping in a freezer basically. But, oh, okay, here we go.
So that's it. That's the front page entry screen at the present moment.
Really cool, man.
You
The
like it?
stage is this round ball. So does it give sort of each icon gives different powers or
Well, each one is a different
Capability.
entry point into the game. And so the student is the next thing is going to be divided into the ruling class, middle class, working class, or planetary guardian. So we're establishing a new class that isn't, that's kind of like the new paradigm. That's like those guys are going to be the ones who build the new paradigm. The other guys are playing the game that Planetary Guardians is running. So Planetary Guardians is assuming command of the situation
oh good.
from the get-go.
Good. That's very good.
And what's fascinating is, it's kind of like only in software can you kind of get the level of control that you might want. Like if you're the designer of a game or you're the control of the operating system, there's more control there than pretty much anywhere else in life. If you want humans to do something, right? You just set up the interface the way it is and they can only press those 4 buttons and that's it. And then you press that button and then this happens. And, that software, right, it's to me, it's the software in games is the element of, I guess, the battleground for the attention of the masses.
Mm. Yeah.
And so from there you can, like here, you can distinguish like the choices of this or that, right? You can go here, you can go there. And are you a student or are you a teacher? Like that's a big difference, right? And a facilitator is kind of in between, and it's kind of like from moving to duality to the 4, because there's 2 more. There's like the originator and the client that are missing from there.
Mm.
I'm wondering, I wonder if I should put them in.
An originator and a client. Those
Yeah, because
are
like within the school of conscious communication, within the structure, there's 6 level of relationships. There's the originators, and those are the people like who are coming up with new knowledge fields. They're the people who are like coming up with a new paradigm stuff. Then there's administrators, and they're just kind of running things, but they're not trying to teach anything. They're just kind of like the tech people running the whole thing. And then there's the teachers, the facilitators, the students, and the clients. And so depending upon what you are, that's the structure of the school. Like that's the breakdown.
So what's the difference between a facilitator and a teacher?
Well, a teacher is actively trying to teach something. A facilitator is assisting a group to go through some sort of process. So the facilitator is kind of like a catalyst. You're sort of like, they're not, I think that distinguishes them quite well.
Yeah.
And so then the students are sort of learning to be facilitators and also being taught by the teachers. So it's kind of like an in-between point, because there's a lot of people that are very good facilitators. Maybe they're not good teachers, but they sure are good facilitators at all ages, right? And then, but I think that facilitation is like it's like a big missing piece of like it's a career, or it's
kind of like
job.
a producer in a movie.
Yeah.
Like there's like, it's sort of a what do they call that? A catch-all. Like, yeah. And unfortunately, titles like that are not like in that sense. It's because of the other question is, can a person be more than one thing in your system?
I would say definitely, because the originator at some point has to teach, and whether they facilitate, and you can be students to other teachers or you can be students to anyone really.
Right.
but it's all sort of like within the concept. Like the idea is that the end of whatever you're entering into is you're in a framed conversation. You're with specific people within this type of conversation, within a mission or whatever it is. It's not just some random thing. And the whole idea of the whole system is to bring those people together. So it's kind of like I've never seen a teaching software system that teaches at three levels, like it has a like teacher, facilitator, student. It's usually teacher, student, and that's it.
Mm-mm.
So there's no in between there. And so in software, again, it's kind of like looking at, you know, what has never been done before, and how you bring that business world and the game world together, and how do you kind of like business is too boring and games, you know, aren't really leading to anything. And so to me, to combine those genres into something real, right? And that's what the whole idea of Planetary Guardians is to sort of gamify the media in relationship to the big issues that we face, so that you can, you know, come up with the solutions for those problems in the building of the new system.
Are you still, is Nova still working with you?
He is, but he's, you know, again, he's sort of he's refocused on his game. So he's helping to find people, and he'll probably jump back in once we got a bunch of the other stuff sort of figured out.
I'm sort of I've been learning a bit of, you know, or noticing a lot of stuff that's kind of related to what you're talking about. There's like a lot of basically coins are trying to make them games because of how big online gaming and all that stuff is. They're trying to just basically turn World of Warcraft or you know, Call of Duty into, people are financially getting, like, people are basically, it's a job. They want to, that's exactly what it is. They want to turn a game into a job.
Right.
And I don't know if that makes any sense. I know that's kind of exactly, like, that's, if it goes wrong, which I think it could easily go wrong many times, it's sort of what has happened. Like, it's like sort of, it's exactly what we're experiencing. Like, Justin Trudeau is this clown, and he's able to say all this weird shit, like Canada's a land of laws, and that he's already said that they want to respect the Indigenous laws, but they just keep on literally pointing guns at First Nations people in their like little tiny village kind of thing. So for them, it's a game, right? This is the problem, really, for the RCMP and all those guys. They know there's no threat, right? They're not going to die. They know the people that they're attacking might die.
Yeah.
So it goes one way and it doesn't go the other way. It's which is what, you know, the code of English saying that to live is evil backwards. That's right. If you know that you have no risk, and the people that you are dealing with incur all the risk, then the flow only goes one direction, and it's never going to stop doing that because they are not in any position to change the terms.
Exactly.
I think nobody really wants, yeah. There's another guy named Richard Hart, and he's made this currency called Hex. It's like Bitcoin. He used to mine Bitcoin, and then he realized that he would do better if he basically took the terms of some of the terms of staking from banks. So if you ensure that you put your money in for a long quantity that you've staked, that means you're guaranteed that larger payout. And if you interfere with that, anyway, it creeps into the game theory thing. So, like what you're doing, you might also try and, maybe you want to just come up with a simple game and see how the different categories kind of fundamentally, like how the complete dynamic works with people of different power kind of ratios, different power possibilities. Because, I mean, like I was, like I said, with Nova's game, it's just not a game until you can actually compete, right? If you can't compete, there's nothing there. You're just sitting there drawing for yourself until someone comes and tells you you're a shitty artist, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, in the Star Trek game, they had you couldn't attack people above a certain level, and you couldn't get attacked, and you couldn't attack people below a certain level. So there were certain, as you sort of got higher and higher in your tech, you're still in a sort of realm of competition, which seemed to sort of, within that game format, it definitely helped, because I mean, there's always people above you that have way more, experience and everything, right?
Has to be, right?
But that's an interesting, to come up and because in life it's like that, but in a true game like poker, we're sitting at a table, we both have the 5 chances of 5 cards. It's an even game. That's a good game because there's a fairness,
Right.
And I think what you're bringing out is there has to be an inherent fairness at each time you play to really have the best fun.
And to not just be trying to bust people, like, because I mean, the other thing about a casino or whatever is that, everyone goes knowing they can lose. Anyone who thinks that that's how they should make their living or whatever is considered, like, I mean, they're totally expressly told, no, do not do that.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, they're in their little gang of whoever, and they're like, "Oh, you're killing it. You can, you're making so much money." Blah 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 blah. Anybody, the busboy, the bellhop, whoever it is, they're gonna say, just remember, it's risky, Mr. Mr. Wyatt or whatever. It's not supposed to just be. It's not a job. I think it's sort of like it is, and maybe it survived because it's like it was a diversification of such a one-dimensional process. Oh man, I mean, jobs are shit. You know what I mean? Like the hardest thing to just even figure is like people are doing this for pieces of paper. To know how completely diluted we are as people when that paper actually meant something to that many people over that course of the world, that, oh, there's this magical entity and then they give you paper, and if they give you the paper, and then now you're powerful and now you can boss people around and shit like that. Like,
imagine the people who print the paper have control of the currency in each country, which there are.
oh yeah.
And then for the world, and that's how they control everything. Imagine being that person. Like there was a movie I just saw recently, some guy had magic pants, and every time he put his hand in his pockets, there was money there, and he was this bum before, and all of a sudden he's a hip happening guy. Right. Everybody loves him, and he's doing his shake, he's got his thing. And I was thinking, I guess I want to move into that type of abundance, right?
Oh
like,
man.
And I would love to take you and whoever along with me if possible. But the thing is, like, the cards become the money in a sense that if I can print them and they cost 20 and I can sell for 40 kind of thing, and I have the PDF to print the 20, all I got to do is go, make my 40, come back, give it to the printer, print 40, and now you start to double your thing. do the drug dealing and get your stash up higher, right?
Right.
And so I just ordered 1,000 containers for the card sets, right? And to me, if you're going to sell it, it's got to have, like, what's always been lacking, I think I told you, was the container. Like, you got the card sets, but I don't have like a real everything that is sold, the watch, the Gucci, whatever, there's always a nice container that you take it out of. And I've always thought, about containers and thinking containers contain the value, the Dow, it's like the water is nothing, but you have the glass and now you have water. Now you can use it because you got a container.
Right.
And so the same thing, kind of like with the card sets of, okay, well, if you can, again, you got the PDFs, you can print it, you can sell it for this. Once you get going, you're printing money. You're basically printing money if you can establish value and so that's what I'm aiming for. But it's going to take 4 months now from China because it costs a lot to ship by air. Like,
right.
So it's kind of like I got 4 months now to write the manual and get it sort of ready for the next iteration of the card sets. Because there's some people with them now. Nobody's got a manual. And you know what? What's your address?
I think it's 437 Maryland. Let me just be sure. Yeah, 437 Maryland. Where's my Winnipeg, Manitoba?
And what's the postal code?
I'm just trying to figure this out. Here we go. R3G1M1. R3G1M1.
I got the Luciel is the group I was working with, and they sent me 8 card sets. They printed all my card sets, not all of them, combo types and the value cards. And so they had it's the mini deck. It's not the full meal deal, but it's like this. It's all the values and all the combo types. So you see all the combos. So it's essentially a spell deck.
I love it. It sounds
good. I'll send you one. I seem to, it's funny, like how in the moment, I sort of run with whatever's happening in the moment, but as soon as we stop and then go on to the next moment and other things, the mind kind of loses track. At least I do.
Well, yeah. Kind of have to go away and dream for a bit and then come back with the improved solution.
Well, it's just like the interaction with everyone that I know is so different, right? It's like each person's in a very different situation. And I'm kind of in a situation of, like, let's say, trying to get like this stuff going on my own work and then communicating with different people. And each one is either, one thing that Chanot was saying is kind of like, one thing I've been wanting to do is to sort of bring all my friends in. I've always had this background thing that you may have noticed or not, that, I'm trying to get you in the plan in some way.
Yeah.
And my justification or my feeling is that, okay, within the plan, everyone gets to design their ideal job. Who wouldn't want to do that? Right? We're building a whole new system. Who wouldn't want to do that? Well, fuck, seems like everyone doesn't want to do that. So until you have something that's real, right? Like the card set to me is something real. that's different from just talking about this stuff, because you can talk forever and nothing changes. And if money ain't coming in the door or something, you know, you're not really helping anybody, or, you know, who knows. But
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like, Jordan right now is sort of like he's gone below the surface, or I mean, he's kind of essentially living the life you've been living.
Oh yeah.
And so
He's outside, is he?
he's out, so he's in and out of there's a women's shelter that has trans allowances, so he's downtown in that. And then during the day, he goes across the street with this guy who lets him stay in his place. But basically, he's had a rough last 6 months in terms of getting worse and worse and worse and worse, and really disconnecting from a lot of the people. And most people kind of thinks he's gone nuts or crazy or whatever, and none of them really know exactly what has occurred. And I sort of stayed in touch sometimes and sometimes not, depending. And recently it's coming, you know, he's sort of like at a point of some people think a point of no return, or a point of potential suicide kind of stuff. So people are getting a little bit more serious, I guess, or I'm just telling you because that's in the background too. And you know, maybe, like, I guess everyone sort of, you know, he knows you. Maybe you can reach out, send him a message.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. I think I have his email. I think we've emailed once or twice. I mean, I don't know what it'll do. You know, he's not alone. The thing that's really the elephant in the room is that there's no fucking disease, and that we have been ruled by our medical elite, and they have fucking stabbed us right in the heart as hard as they could, and people don't have the guts to say it or see it. So, you know, they were always parasitic. Like, half of the diseases that people have regular treatments for are not even real. Half of the fucking, there's diseases that have been on the books that have never existed. You know, drapetomania is a disease, right? The tendency for a slave to try to escape his slave master is an actual disease that was written and recorded and documented. And it's exactly that foolish. Everybody has got their fucking narcissism on full blast, and they cannot really get over themselves. They can't, like, that's where the whole God thing kind of helps, because if you feel like you're the reason you're here, then you're gonna think, how come I can't cure myself? But if you understand that you're not the reason you're here, like, there's a grand architect who's put us here. So even if you don't see what you're supposed to be doing, then you can just accept that that's part of what your experience is, that the pointlessness is not to your detriment. But, you know, the cruel people, the spirits, whoever's doing this to us, you know, the disembodied, I'll put it like that, in media, now we've made the internet, there's always going to be a voice encouraging people just to kill themselves. Get the fuck off the planet. We want the planet for ourselves. We like this place. That's why I'm so pissed at the white people all the time. Because all they are is, it's all just mental shorthand. It makes no sense. No matter what country you go to, they're pulling this hustle. There are people who are darker than I have met in India, guys way blacker than me, calling themselves white. So this is why I know it's stupid, and I've known it's stupid for a long time. And it's very, very frustrating, because it's exactly what they did with the Tutus and the Hutsis with Rwanda. There's cruel people who sow deceit, and they sow this envy that there's no coming back from. If once you swallow it, you're just gonna keep manifesting the hatred. And it's not easy to find this sort of escape route. But the thing about it is that it's there. It's there. It really is. The first thing is that ignorance being bliss. Like, unless they got their hands on you, they don't. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to keep wishing hate on you. And that if you can, you know, if you can stop hearing them, you can stop believing that you're hated. You know, you can start to imagine, or you can start to know and see that you're here and it means you're loved because somebody planted this seed to make you. And even if they're far away from you and you feel abandoned, it's still the reality. It's still the reality that you still, but I mean, yeah, they've done some Death Star shit to us. They've made everyone believe they're diseased just for having a cold. So, I mean, and I'm, you know, and I, yeah, like, I do miss Vancouver because I just today I was listening to this a guy, a financial analyst type person. He's a Japanese. He's a Hawaiian guy. I think rich dad. He's called or something.
Rich Dad Poor Dad guy.
I think maybe he wrote that book. Maybe, I'm not sure. And what was it? Sorry, the phone is.
Please enter your remote access code.
One of the things he said, oh yeah, that was it. That he was disheartened to find out that he couldn't go back. That after he'd gone to New York and he'd met all these New Yorkers and he'd really like downloaded all this insane knowledge, he tried to go back and they all just thought he was a fucking like alien. And that is like, you know, I think for someone like Jordan, that's going to be a problem because he's talking to smart people and then all of a sudden all the people you love don't understand you anymore. They think you're just, they think you traded the mule for beans, for a couple of beans. Like, these are magic beans. This is magic. You know, nobody believes it's magic. So I think it's and then with the winter, you know, like, and not being able to just live out under a bridge somewhere like a normal person. I'm sure I know so many people are suffering that way. Do you know it's like almost -30 and this stupid shitty city has people outside, living outside, and not in small numbers, like groups of 10 and 12 people all just
Jesus.
huddled under a bridge. I bet occasionally making a fire if they can get away with it. But it's satanic. It really is.
Chanel was saying there's 60,000 homeless people in LA. 60,000.
Well, after all this shit has happened, I am not surprised. One of the statistic I just heard today was that 40% of commercial real estate is in New York is empty right now.
40% of commercial real estate.
So they because they're such scum, right? What they did is they do that. It's the mark of the beast, right? To participate in the economy, you have to have the mark. So you have to be vaccinated. If you haven't, then you're just peripherally involved in the economy. Or else you're completely barred from the economy, like for the really unlucky people who only had a couple of connections and now. And like I remember going to when I got back here, I was gonna just try and hustle, collecting cans and get some free money out of it, And I brought all these cans into the fucking vendor, a vendor I worked at. I used to work at this vendor, and the fucking human garbage that was behind the counter goes ape shit, and he's like, that's not a real mask. Get a mask. Get a fucking real mask. Blah, blah, blah. Like he's like. And I did hear later on that someone at that vendor got stabbed, and I celebrated because they're toxic people, and like if you treat someone like that, you do deserve what you get. But the guy. So the first thing I learned was, okay, so I'm not here to collect cans, like, okay, I studied my ass off and all this stuff. So fate is telling me don't waste your time with something that other people need to collect these cans.
Excuse me.
But like, and he's just scared, right? But it's not, that's what I mean. This city is just toxic, man. I could say he's just scared and all this stuff. He didn't need to say any of that shit. He didn't need to say any of that shit. They're such power mongering, like power tripping rapists, like they're mind rapists. And all they do is try and find who feels sad, who feels weak, and fuck them over. And when I was like in the 80s and 90s, 80s, growing up, there was one homeless guy in Winnipeg. He was known as the Jesus of Osborne Village. And he would just be the same dude walking around homeless, no matter all times of year. Sometimes he'd just be wearing this giant dirty coat. And then in the summer, he was kind of just like Mr. Hawaii or whatever. But coming back and seeing what they're doing now and how fucked up it is, I just know they're just not. Money is the only reason this place is here, and it's all about who is supposed to suffer. Who do we believe should suffer, and how are we going to make them suffer? Anyway, I'm not sure why I'm bringing this up, but it's just well, okay, because I think that's what they tried to do globally, right? They tried to say either you're a have or you're a have not. You're going to get the vax and participate in the economy, or you're not, and we're going to keep doing this to you until you're gone. But they're not God, so it has no actual impact, except that the people up at the top are just raping the shit out of each other like they normally do. Donald Trump's. Do you know that Donald Trump's been bankrupt 5 times and nobody there can say it? He is also the most litigious man in America. So they've got a system where they can't even speak the truth to one another. And that's how the economy is expected to proceed. I mean, it can't be real. I don't know. And I assume that's why it creates such massive gross distortions with everybody else. I don't know. What do you think? Like, why doesn't Nova just try and generate just fundraise?
I think he's going to. I think he feels he's got to do one more test. He's got to simplify it, because at the beginning there's a huge drop-off rate of people who, the only people who sort of stayed in the game were people who've played the game, know the game, and we had an attrition rate of almost 80 or 90 in the first week, which is, it just shows something's missing.
Well, that's what I was kind of trying to figure out how to push, was that you can't have these dickheads. Once a guy's doing really good, he should be trying to figure out actual threats, not just like, here's the Ewoks, I'm gonna nuke them into eternity. This is a person trying to play this stupid fucking game. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like entering a turtle in like a horse race. Being like, but he's your pet. You should be so happy. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Like, I don't know. That's to me, that's obvious. I don't know what else to say. And I like that idea that I guess Star Trek had, that there's only ranges of, or for that matter, you could have the actual species have rivalries among the species, so that there is, like, the GUI that you made had battles won and battles lost and some other details. So it could be something more along the lines of that, where you're sort of rewarded for, more sensible behavior than just kicking everyone's sandcastle over and you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, to me, that, like, because a number of people have brought it up, right? I mean, the win conditions are going to dictate how you play, and there's no real win conditions in this game so
Right.
far.
yeah.
And so, we were putting forth having different shards. You put the shards together, you build a portal, and the shards are spread through the universe, and you have to have allies to find them. And, it sort of adds a different element, more of a story element. So that, and then coming in with teams or finding teams. And then, again, the win conditions of, okay, are you, one might be the evil empire. And that's for people who want to play a game where the biggest eat the rest kind of thing. Or another one could be kind of like coalition victory, where you can only win, let's say, with 10 allies. And if you go to war, you lose status or something, right? If you go to war, it really hurts you rather than helping you. So that type of win condition will create a different scenario where the big guys aren't pounding smaller guys, kind of thing. So, he has that in mind. He's sort of jumped into his own, he's gone back to the drawing board kind of, and he's sort of like, he just wants to kind of, okay, I take the feedback, now I'm going to redesign it kind of attitude, which is, I can understand. Next time I talk to him, I'll bring it up again. Or you could send him a note, because I think that's super important, because you're right. It's just, it takes all the fun out of the game when you get pounded by somebody who's like way bigger than you.
Well, but also, it's not even like real war where someone has to do something. It's not as though people just start bombing the shit out of someone that they don't know for no fucking reason. Like, that's not realistic. That doesn't, the violence that's happening in Kazakhstan right now, the Bitcoiners went crazy, and they started, like, basically dethroning the government. It's a coup, right? But the reporting only sort of is mentioning that there's a bunch of violence, but there's a reason for the violence. Like there has to be.
Well, this one guy said that the reason is they started trying to put the vax mandate or pass in order to go get money out of the bank. And as soon as they did that, everyone went fucking crazy. Because I mean, that's it, right? That's the last straw. You know,
Yeah.
what I need the vax to go get my money. Fuck you. Now I'm on the streets. Now I'm on the streets with everyone else, and we're tossing you from your government building on the ground. And that's what happened, right? Everyone's running, and the fucking army, you know, everyone's against it. So the fucking government's gone now.
Well, do you remember what see, this is why Africa is awesome. You know, if it even, you know, if you believe that that's even its proper name, which it's not. When they tried to push it globally, they told, what was it? Oh yeah, they wanted samples from all these different places, right? That they're going to confirm that these people have it and these people have it. And so I think it was like Guinea, I don't know, Ghana, somebody, their leader basically sent like dog and horse samples, like just like,
Right.
and then they sent it back, confirmed that yes, these people have COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the guy was like, haha, you guys aren't even real, like you're so full of shit. And this, I said this about DNA and all this stuff. People, again, they just don't understand. They don't understand that it's about exploiting people's ignorance. There's not a lot more than that. So the guy did what he did for the freedom of the entire world. He took the risk of pissing these people off, and sure enough, they went and killed him for it. But he did it. And did it save anybody? Fuck no. Right? Like these people, there's some, I mean, strange. So,
Well, yeah, and I think that's like, who was that guy who recently died in prison? And he McAfee, and he had, but he was a smart dude, right? Very smart guy.
yeah.
And he had sort of, what are they called? Dead man's
Switch.
Dead man switch. So he had these dead man switches. It could still be going on, but I'd like to have tons of those. I want those, like I want, as soon as they kill me and I want to be shot, I want them to shoot me right in the head. I want to be such a problem to them that they whack me out.
Yeah.
So that said, also I want this whole idea designed so that when I do go, that's when it's like unleash the dogs. You know, it's just like, you thought I was bad alive. Oh fuck, now I'm 10 times worse. You know, pull an Obi-Wan. You know,
Just watching as a blue ghost from the sidelines, as a force ghost.
Hey, did I send you Europa? Oh shit, I'm gonna send you something.
Hey, there's a movie you should watch.
Yeah.
Did you find the Banksy documentary on Tubi?
No.
Holy moly, bud. If you're saying you want a dead man switch, I will give you a dead man switch.
Okay.
That you know, I don't know, maybe you won't, but you know who Banksy is?
Yeah.
Right. So he's very private. Nobody knows who he is, supposedly.
No one knows who he is?
Yeah,
Really?
very few people know like who he actually is. And he's never been photographed doing what he does or any of that stuff.
Really? So he's a hidden guy.
In the video, he's a blurred face the whole time, right?
Okay.
He's doing it like a supervillain. He's very, this guy is a genius. I think he's English. He's maybe British or whatever. And he totally made $1 million quid or £1,000,000, he's like a screen print savant, you know, phenom. So he made counterfeit pound notes with Princess Di on them. And they're perfect. Like they're perfect. They're perfect. So perfect that like they're better than dollars. They're better than real money because Princess Di is so beautiful in the picture. She has this, she's kind of rolling her eyes to the side, like in a kind of like in a knowing way. Yeah, sort of just like, and they're perfect. And he's got 1 million of them. He's got like $1 million of this fake money. And his plan originally was to just go up to the highest building he could get on top of and just start throwing it out, because he can use it as money. Like people will, like, I mean, he's also Banksy, so I assume sure they'll take it as money. Like why wouldn't they, right? It's even as a fake currency, it's probably worth more than the real money. So as art. But that's the kind of maybe that was his dead man switch. Because that's the main complaint right now, is that Biden's administration is like there's more money that's been printed in the past like year or something like that than there ever has been in the entire history of the American dollar or whatever. They've done something.
Yeah, they're fucking printing trillions for all this COVID shit, and they're just stealing it all. You know,
Yeah.
and inflation, like, you know, the same thing that's happened in the Depression is going to happen. I mean, the money's not going to be worth anything, and everyone's going to lose their shirt again, and they're just going to do their big wealth grab. You know, it's
Well, and because I had that experience in Vancouver. I tried to use a 20 and the lady wouldn't accept it, and it was just for laundry. And I was like, well, it's a 20. Look, I mean, what you think I fucking made this 20? Like, no, she won't accept it. Someone else tells me it's a fake. I bring it all the way back to the bank, right? The bank right at Commercial and Broadway. The lady takes it, does the old crumple test kind of thing. No, it's a real 20. I'm like, so I wasted my whole morning over a $20 bill that was real, that wasn't even worth anything to anybody. And so this is it's such an amazing, like a lot of people think that no one has experienced this stuff, and the problem is, you know, it's a lot more common than a lot of people think.
Are you in touch with like people from Vancouver?
Oh, just occasionally, an occasional email here and there, but it's been no, I do believe that they have terrorized people on a really collective consciousness level. Yeah, it's this seems like the opportunity for, you know, like, well, trouble is nothing but opportunity in working clothes. This seems like, I'm saying exactly like Banksy. Holy dude, that video. So the story that's so amazing is that this one kid, this man, Terry is his name. He's French. And he basically, he's traumatized as a child. And he starts filming everything. He's filming every fucking thing. He films all day, every day. He's just one of those guys, if you ever known one of those guys. Film, can't not stop. Then he starts seeing these street artists, and so he meets Shepard Fairey. Shepard Fairey is the Obey guy, Obey giant. He's the one who did the Obama Hope print. So Shepard Fairey is huge, huge artist, and always doing illegal shit. Shepard Fairey just loves to put massive pieces up where they're not supposed to be, and he's just, I don't know, you know, leading this blessed life. For some reason, this film guy manages to become good friends and just start filming Shepard Fairey. And at a certain point, he understands what's happening. This is so brilliant about how this story unfolds. So like, he does that, and then he falls in love with Banksy stuff. And then one day it drops right in his lap. Banksy happens to be in New York and wants someone to kind of show him around. So they set up an art show, set up a massive art show. They actually get an elephant and use kids paint and cover him in like royal tartan, like this pattern, and makes millions of dollars. So crazy. So then film guy Banksy is like, I want to take your footage and make can you make a movie? And film guy makes a movie, and the movie is shit. He's been filming all this time, and there's not even a single, like, it's all just this autistic, epileptic, whatever it is. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. So Banksy does the old switcheroo and says, okay, well, hey, maybe you should start doing I'll do some film editing and you should do some painting. So he gets to footage of his own stuff, and the guy starts making art. But since the guy has already witnessed all these artists do this stuff, he goes straight to the top. Like, he goes straight to the top. It's insane. His first show, he just goes as big as he can, as huge as he can. He's not making any art. He's just telling people what he wants them to make, like Warhol would, you know, like he knows what he's doing. So he's like, yeah. And it is total Warhol ripoff, tons of Warhol ripoff. Campbell soup cans and all these different kind of lithograph print type things. But he makes millions of dollars on the one show. He's never sold an art piece before in his life, and he's selling art pieces for $30,000, for $200,000, just like that. So I maybe spoiled the show for you, but the amazing punchline of it is Banksy. They're asking him about it, and he's like, both him and Shepard Fairey agree that they never want that to happen again. Like, they don't want to share their secrets with some fucking idiot and then just have him ape them, and then he's suddenly as big as they are, even though he doesn't even know how to paint. He doesn't even know how to draw. He doesn't know how to do these things. He's just doing what he saw these other guys do, which is, you know, and they're artists, so they have that humility where they understand, well, maybe that does mean that what we do really isn't that big of a fucking deal. But at the same time, you know, at the same time, we didn't want to know it that way. You know?
No, I mean, I get it. I get it when you have a certain thing you're trying to do and someone takes it and bastardizes it, you know, and maybe might become more successful, but it's not in its truest form at all.
Pimps it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what it is. They pimp it. And that is frustrating to see, but it really makes you, sort of humbles you to your own capacity, because it's all gifts. The reason you can do the things you do are gifts. So how dare you say someone else just exploring the gifts that you got and doing better with them than maybe you did? Maybe not better, but just that it's that easy for them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's like that container again, like it's in to create that type of wealth. He just learned how to build the container,
Right.
pop some content in. Who gives a fuck? Because everyone's just used to, okay, here's the next whatever. And they're so sort of ignorant anyway that they'll just go along with it, which is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
But I guess it's sort of like if all of them had a higher vision of true, let's say, species transformation, of true consciousness development, or true, service to God, or true sort of brotherly love, something higher that they all aimed at and believed in, then it wouldn't matter to me, because then you're working for the higher cause. But if each person is kind of like, no, I'm just doing my individual creativity and that's it. I guess that's where I would say, I guess that's something just for me of, I don't give a shit if anyone uses all my stuff, as long as they're doing something good with it for people. And it's supposed to be that. It's supposed to be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's not meant just for me to whatever. It's meant to be tools in other people's hands. But then you get the tools in other people's hands, and again, without training and without understanding, they just use it a little bit, and they can kill it for other people because it's never used in its proper form. And that is also true. And I think these are just things that you have to overcome in order to sort of get that level of competency, right, in delivering your work in the way that you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's from what I see from, at least from my own end, is that you're kind of like, you're struggling until you have the prototype to show people. And once you have that prototype to show people, then you can go that next level. But until at each stage, there's something which you have to do to go to the next stage. And then depends on, again, on your resources and your your emotional state and your, a lot of the things which drive to create whatever it is, right? I mean, if you're in, let's say, 20 years of suffering, but you built 3 sculptures that were masterpieces, and now you know how to do masterpieces that you never would have done if you weren't suffering.
Right.
I mean, most people, I think, when they get successful, they got the money, they got the comfort, they got the blow, they got the whatever they got. They're putting their time and attention on pleasure seeking, which they didn't have, let's say, before, but they're not putting it on their art or their craft, which was their main focus. So, I mean, I could see why these brilliant artists die penniless, because they're just creating masterpieces, but nobody can see them. And there's an emotional, don't you see what this is? And nobody sees.
Yeah. I don't know if it's that they don't see, or if just that their nature is even worse and they basically just want to take it. They don't want to pay for it. They want to take it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different levels of of the bum end of the stick.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's like, I don't really think being an artist itself makes a lot of sense. I think being an artist who has goals, kind of, at least, because you need to, there's like a lack of foresight that an artist sort of almost always inherently is going to have, and then no one can survive that. Just, Van Gogh cutting his ear off to impress somebody kind of thing. Like, it's just like, you are a drowning man if you think that's impressing people. That is just showing that you are fucked in the head.
Well, can't be good at everything, and generally we're going to be real bad at a few things if we're really good at something. It was fun. Can I tell you a funny story? Linked to
Sure.
George. So I don't know about you, but like I sort of have a, we all have our limits. I think limits that we can deal with people, limits that we can deal overall, limits for everything. And then each individual person, right, has limits with each other of, let's say what they like, what they dislike, what they can handle, what they can't handle. And then all of these things kind of add up. Sometimes astrologically, there could be something bigger and all of a sudden, boom, separation or fight or conflict or something or whatever it is, right? And you never know when it's going to happen. It happened, like it can happen quick, as out of nowhere, that you thought everything was fine, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of some fight that you didn't even know how it started, and then you get triggered, and then game over, relationship over.
Then game over.
And it's funny because I think when you're younger, at least for me, you have friends for longer periods of time, but I don't know, but then they can change your age, your school, depending, it's to me, like the best friendship is sort of like going to high school, looking at a sort of a pack of the boys that were kind of like your friends, right? And then after that, it never kind of seems the same. And then there's age disparities, right? As you get older, then you can come contact people a lot younger, a lot older, and now are you friends? Depending on, so I've had a lot of thoughts about just like what friendship actually means versus allies or versus like anybody, right? And so Jordan had reached a point where I sort of closed myself off to him. I didn't want to interact with it. Like the insanity seemed to be getting worse, and the feedback wasn't getting through, and he was having impact on me, and
Right.
I just didn't want to deal with it. And that was probably true for a lot of people around him. But for, the most part, the last couple of years, I've spent time with him looking at, trying to understand his work. And we had a lot of, good times together in terms of sharing each other's work. Because both of us have sort of big abstract conceptual systems that nobody knows about. So we share a bit back and forth, and he might take a few of mine, I take a little bit of his, and it looked like it was going somewhere, but but he was a mini version or a younger version of me of realizing, holy shit, if you're bringing something that new, you're facing a lot of resistance. And the more weird or different you are, the more resistance you get. And all of a sudden, a lot of doors are closed, and all of a sudden you're fucked. and then it can get, and I remember warning him, I said, you know what, this could get a lot worse. You think it's bad now, because I could see the I could see what was coming. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because he sort of like there's something about him doesn't quite read the situation well sometimes, in spite of, he's brilliant in certain areas, but in other areas with humans, he doesn't read it as well as he could. And so he gets into a situation which can get bad pretty quick because he's not judging that other person well.
Right.
And I just saw examples of it which were blatant, but that's just a younger man kind of, not, thinking I know what's going on when actually I'm not. And so his ex-girlfriend had said, I'm worried about him, haven't seen him, nobody'd heard from him in about a month or something. And she says, I'm going to go looking for him. And she goes, I don't want him to die on my watch. And up until that point, I had a lot of reasons as to why I didn't want to deal with it. And then it was like, okay. Yeah, you're right. I mean, everything's fine and dandy until someone commits suicide and they're dead. And now everyone's, oh, wow. We did fuck all, didn't we? And so I met with him. And we had about a 3-hour talk, and it was a good chat. But then in the last 10-15 minutes, he sort of, something triggered him. It wasn't like something, it was something like, it's the same thing of, I am going to assert my right to be me and you can't fucking tell me not to.
Mm.
And when I put that forward, you or no one else can say I'm doing wrong or anything. I'm just doing it, kind of thing.
Right.
That was the basic message. But jumping up, slamming a chair, and ripping my new game board prototype. He didn't clear the cards off, but he and in that moment,
He ripped your stuff up?
yeah, I mean, I had a game board, he actually he ripped it, and it's no big deal, but it's kind of a big deal in a sense of, if you just brought me your latest prototype and we're about, it's sitting there. And again, it kind of came out of nowhere, and it was based upon a future boundary. It wasn't based upon a present moment thing. It was basically saying, in the future, when I got to do what I got to do, I'm doing it. And I understand.
That's him saying that?
Yeah. But it's kind of like, it's like, let's say a new band member saying to you, hey man, when I'm blowing my solo, I'm fucking blowing my solo when I want, and don't fucking tell me to shut up.
Right.
That's essentially what it was in my mind. So it didn't really go over that well.
Yeah. I mean, that is what happens.
So it was kind of like looking at planetary guard, but I think it's just because he's experienced so much negative feedback around stuff that he knows is good and brilliant. It's just people not understanding what he's talking about. And they don't believe, like he's in the realm of, this is going to happen, and this is what's going to happen, and there's nothing to stop it, kind of. But nothing in the world around him is sort of supporting that from the other person's point of view, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I understand that too, as to, if you're a theorist or you're bringing your imagination into the reality, you have to believe it's true in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And it is, if you're not flexible, if you're inflexible, you're going to be in trouble. Because
Let me finish, because it was like,
sorry, yeah.
it was like, again, having a 3-hour talk and thinking, hey, this went well, I can see maybe doing more of this. And then at the last end of it, kind of sabotaging it and sort of making it so that, putting such a foul taste in my mouth that I don't want to participate. Like, that's my cue for leaving the show, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm,
I just want a basic level of respect. And if that isn't there, I don't usually want to participate with anybody. But as he did it, he was about to storm off, and I've been that person, and I went like this. I went, I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize about 10 times until he sat down.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside, I sort of, I was livid. I just, I just was silent to calm down, because I in that moment, at least, I don't know if it's true, but I thought, if he leaves, that's it. We'll never talk again.
Mm-hmm.
From both our point of view, I know from me, there's a side of me that will just say, fuck this shit. That's it. You're gone. Fuck. And, another side of me going, that's just stupid. That's what they want. They want us to have these, divide and conquer, fucking shadow versus shadow shit, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, I got to get beyond this. And so that's why I did that. And it worked. Because usually, to me, if you humble yourself, or you sort of, you don't make it worse, you try to make it better in some manner. The other person knows it, then you go towards, you can bring it back into some sort of hopeful harmony. And so we left it, but then there was kind of like and then the next time we had a chat, Samantha came with him. And again, it was nice for about 45 minutes. And then all of a sudden it got triggered, and he went off and she went, and it was basically the same thing. Him kind of saying, I'm using psychedelics for my work, and that's it. Don't tell me what not to do, kind of. But she's an ex, old trigger. He shouts it 4 times. She doesn't back down. Again, she doesn't know how to bring it down. Gets worse. shucks something off the table and runs off again. And then after that, I sort of say, okay, fuck off. I don't want to deal with you, kind of thing. And then last night, Brooke again brings up the thing. It looks like he's talking about committing suicide, kind of thing. And then going, okay, well, fuck, you know, again, like, because I just feel in me my shadow. I just feel in me, you know, it's just my own judgment, and I got to get through that. You know, what's compassion if you can't kind of, you know, so anyway, so I wrote him a message this morning, sort of attempting to reconnect in a manner like I would have shut him out again, like maybe forever.
Hmm.
So just so you know, the context going in.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned the psychedelics, because I don't know. I don't know how much that can do, but you know, marijuana was pretty good for me for figuring stuff out. So I can't say that, you know, people, maybe they do need stuff.
But the thing is, it was again, it was like the other time where it was something about the future. It was like setting a boundary for the future that didn't exist in this moment, and didn't need to be, you know, usually those things work out, right? Like if you want to paint that wall, and I get, you know, you negotiate as you go,
Right.
you know, you got to figure things as you go. But
Yeah.
if you're setting this, you know, if you don't this, I'm doing this when I, you know, now as a, you know, it fucks up everything.
Well, it's fake. That's the big problem. Why, you know, why am I gonna does everybody think that if somebody else tells you something that you have to keep track of what everybody else said about what you can or can't do? I mean, that certainly is what I think this COVID shit is about, really, right? Like, how do you make, you know, it's countless. This is the thing that people, that's why it is a spiritual war, because it's about you and how you, you know, basically what vessel are you, so that what the whatever comes in you, it takes that shape. Like if a lot of people, you know, it's like, is it a religion? Do I have to come to you and ask for permission? Do I have to come to you and ask all these things? If it's another, if a relationship's like that, I mean, you don't really need it. And certainly, you know, and certainly, yeah, leave that till you cross it, right? Like if you're against abortion and we're having a great conversation, and then 3 years later, my partner wants to get an abortion, or I want to get an abortion, or whatever the hell, we can have a fight about it now, or we can have a fight about it 3 years later. It seems like it makes more sense to just have the 3 years later fight, especially since it won't be a fight, because at that point I'm free. So I'll do what I do, and you will have decided at that point that you do not, you know what I mean? That stuff, it like, man, I know.
Well, I think it's super important in terms of, let's say, if you are creating an organization, because the next day he said, okay, these are the planetary, he sort of went on as if nothing had happened. And he's talking
Right.
about planetary guardians. And I sort of answered back, well, planetary guardian sort of doesn't exist yet in terms of the infrastructure. And we have no agreements, we have no team. So you're basing your assumptions based on, you know, you, me, and what's her name? His ex. Total blank. Have no agreements about what we're trying to do together. So if you're stating, you know, I mean, again, you can be stating a boundary and you maybe thought you were never listened to, and so you're stating it now just in case we don't know.
Right.
You know, but you know, what I see is, you know, he's in a shitty environment. He's getting pounded everywhere. He's like a wounded animal. He's just biting anywhere.
Mm.
Because he's probably in shock or some type of PTSD. that he hasn't even admitted to himself.
Yeah. I mean, but he is who he is. I assume that like that, systems are like that, right? That's the worst, that's the thing. They're very artificial, and they only actually function so long as everybody says we're playing the game. And then as soon as everybody just remembers, like I said, about God's purpose and the fact that we don't know what's going on, we don't have any true authority or power or anything like that, then, I think, people don't want to be manipulated. So so you're saying I can't reinvent myself tomorrow? Well, then, that's got to be the way it is for everybody, even if they don't admit it. Even if
It's
they
true.
don't admit it, because
It's true.
survival is its own goal,
But I guess it's kind of like, it's that, again, like, why does a team come together, and what are the purpose, and what's the function, and what, how do you sort of assess where you're going to go? How do you talk? Lots of things, right? Like, I mean, the thing about games, like something like basketball, right? What I like about basketball, it's everyone knows kind of like the situation. There's a court, there's a rim, there's a ball. This is how you play. Like,
okay,
kind
but
of like,
let me push that slightly, because the reason it's so relevant right now is because of this. It's because of LeBron James. Like, I'm just trying to plug in my oh, it's over there. Did you see him get the people by the sideline kicked out of the game recently?
I did.
You did. So
Yeah.
he's not supposed to be able to do that. And it is amazing. I have had this problem since Michael Jordan. I stopped watching because I saw Michael Jordan basically kick Kevin Johnson in the face when they were playing the Suns. And I was like, that was so clearly a charge. I don't even know what to say. Like, I think this is gay. And I mean it, like gay, like all the people are just, they got massive hard-ons watching Jordan. They're not actually paying attention to what the game is. And the game, if that was just red team, blue team, it would have been Jordan had committed a foul, and they're now, because it was set up. It was he you know what I mean? Like he set the defense. He set the defense, anticipating the move, and he got the foul, and they didn't call it for him. And I realized that is the problem, is that and actually pro wrestling has already told us this, that the referees are in on the game. And so the referees are actually the most important players in the game. But people don't have, their brains can't conceive of these things. So sure enough, when LeBron did that and got those people kicked out, I was like, yeah, look, I remember when LeBron was arguing possession with one of the refs, and he was doing it so boisterously that any other player would have gotten in shit for the attitude he had shown. But they were just like, oh yes, oh, LeBron. And I was like, yeah, this game has always sucked. It's a shitty game because personality always makes it so that these people, they're pretending what they're doing, what they do from one perspective, it's like a magic trick. What they do from one perspective seems to make sense. But if you were up front, if you are in person, if you saw what actually happened and how people are judging each other's facial subtleties, all that stuff, you would never have any question that it wasn't fair. And that stuff is brainwashing. It's where all this really gets its corruption and its guts. And personality. Like I guess I'm saying that because it's not straightforward, and it can easily become brainwashing. And at that point, we might as well be watching pro wrestling, because we might as well just be watching, my favorite guy is this guy, and everybody acknowledges that he's the one who's supposed to win, so they're going to make him win. And if he doesn't win, it's probably because the referee said something should have happened that didn't happen, or didn't happen, like omissions and commissions.
Well, so much for my idea of basketball. That sounds like a good ending. I'm completely demoralized.
Yeah. No, come on. No. But I feel like don't, you know, it's about growth. Like most of these systems are supposed to be about growth. When they get twisted and perverted, you know, it is. No one's checking LeBron, right? How can you do it? His rookie card's worth $1 million. Blah 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 blah. We're in a fairly different boat, and actually, software kind of precludes a lot of that stuff because computers don't really play that kind of bias unless they're programmed to play that kind of bias. So I mean, I like, and that's the thing, right? If you played a video game of basketball, what you said would be true, right? The machine's telling you blah blah blah, and that's the outcome. But with people, they can just keep turning a blind eye, and they can keep on doing this little nudge and the little wink, and eventually got pro wrestling over again.
Well, I was trying to get out. My attention span has gone. I need something to eat.
All right, it's good to talk to you, Ro.
Okay. And
Keep me in the
so
loop.
I will send this to you and then we shall be in contact.
Okay, sounds good. Take it easy, man.